Hello, Eastern fans. It is night here. This is night time. Of course, wherever you might be watching me, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your time zone. Uh, this is a quick one. We are going to expose, of course, and discuss about the lies that is being propagated by the senators. I fear nobody. Tinubu has done well, but the people are hungry. This is a statement coming from the Senate or senator, a serving senator, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, who happens to be the former governor of Abia State. During his visit to the governor of Abia State, the current governor of Abia State, Dr. Alex Oti, he granted, of course, a press briefing where the journalists asked him certain questions about the administration of Ahmed Bola Tinubu. In his response, he said, I fear nobody. The president has done well, but the people are hungry. What a contradiction. If the government has done well, why should the people go hungry? The lies are the hollow chambers, the inconsistencies, the double standards, lives and expression is bittered by the political class. What is the very essence of governance? How do you measure the performance index of any responsible government across the nations? It is the living standard of the citizens that defines whether the government is doing well or not. You cannot just contradict yourself, as an ordinary Nigerian politicians we always do, trying to hide the truth under cover because he want to protect his personal interests or whatever. These are just half truths. For him coming up to say, I fear nobody, the president have done extremely well in some parts, but the people are hungry. He has not been able to feed the population of the Nigerian state. Then how can you establish the fact that he has done well? In what aspects? In terms of policy formation, in terms of the impact of the policy assessment on the masses or citizens of the country. When you take a critical look at that statement, is a statement of mockery, is a statement that is shredded, covered up in lies. Of course, he cannot hide the truth because he started, of course, to greater extent the implication of such statements. So we are here, of course, if the president is doing well and the masses cannot see the impacts of such performance or the indices, of course, how he arrived to that conclusion. How can you say that the president is doing well, but the masses, the populations of the citizens, or majority of the population of Nigerian citizens, are not just hungry, are not just haggard, but have lost hope even with the mandate or the mantra of renewed hope? So for me, it is an indictment to the administration of Ahmed Bola Tinubu coming from a senator who, of course, do not understand the gravity of his assessment or assertion. For you to have said that the government is doing well in error, doing well in serving the Nigerian state, doing well in making life more unbearable for Nigerians, well, if that is what you mean, I think you are very much right. But if by doing well you mean that the president has cushioned the effect of the economic mishaps on Nigerians, well, I think that is a total blunder. That is living in denial. Of course, we can say for ourselves that upon assuming office, the president removed subsidy and claimed that the season or era of subsidy is gone. But lately, we came to understand or discover, even from the legal luminary Femi Falana, that 5.4 trillion naira has been paid in the last 12 months of Tinubu's administration for subsidy. And now the petroleum or pump price have not changed, rather keep on aggravating, getting more worse, and people are really finding it extremely difficult. Of course, the impact on the daily activities or consumptions of the masses is very destructive. People could no longer find it very easy to survive. Some workers can't transport themselves to their place of primary assignment because of the excruciating hardship resulting from the physical policies, fiscal and, of course, monetary policies of this government. So there is no way you can, of course, try to paint black to become white while we all are seeing what is happening. That Tinubu has done well. In what aspect? I expected him to have expatiated on his statement, but before he ended up that statement, the following statement contradicted the first one he made, that the people are hungry. By the people, he means the ordinary masses or citizens of Nigeria are hungry. For the very first time, a serving senator could admit the truth, the reality on the ground, the reflection of the realities on ground, that people are hungry. Who was responsible for the hunger? Of course, they cannot be absolved of this complicity. I mean, the legislatures or the lawmakers. There are certain issues that should have been given priority. Even the lawmakers contributed to the sufferings of the masses. How can you be a lawmaker and you allow the executive to live such as extravagant life, extravagant spending, spending on frivolities, spending on things that does not have any economic value to the citizens? You allow the executive, the president, to approve SUVs running over 160 million for each senator and House of Rep, and you are coming now to tell the masses, the world, that the people are hungry, as if is Tinubu alone should be blamed. The president alone should not be blamed because Orji Kalu and his colleagues other senators and House of Representatives, the legislators, are also responsible, are guilty of this conspiracy. They are accomplices to this crime against the masses, for impoverishing the masses. Are you telling me that the likes, the calibers of the former governor of Abia State does not have the money to procure or to buy SUVs for himself if he so desire? He's a multi-billionaire. We understand that. Now, why should you take out of the little that was meant to better the lot of the masses, and you still approve it, recommended it, and it was approved? And now you come back to say the people are hungry. 150 or 60 million can set up a small factory in your constituency, two or three or more or five factories that can create jobs for the teeming populations within your constituency. If you have recommended, okay, let the president take this money and invest it in different localities with a defined objectives. Set up, of course, some factories or refinery factories of production that will absorb some youths who at their productive age have no are not meaningfully engaged, and there is no place to engage them. If there are places to engage them, most of them are willing to work and to fend for themselves. But unfortunately, there is no place to be absorbed. Adequate facilities, conducive environments should be created. The government cannot create all the jobs, but the government can set a precedent. The government can make or create an enabling environment for such industries to strive. Of course, such as certain infrastructures like, okay, making availability of lights, constant lights, regular lights, so that even the small scale businesses, as least as uh, a barber shop is, you could be able to see and harness the availability of lights for his shop. But do you see that happening? Senator Orji Kalu comes from the most industrious region of the eastern part, the Abia State, Aba precisely. Aba is the Africa China. They can fabricate, they can manufacture, they can design. But unfortunately, throughout his 8 years, there is electric power supply to the Abia people. There is no roads network. There's no road network, let alone talking about good road network. Aba, of course, was deserted. Aba was just one of the dirtiest states or part of the eastern region. No roads everywhere, dilapidated. Even the federal and state roads are not fixed. But upon visits to Dr. Oti, of course, unless I believe he may have seen the level of transformation that have taken place just in less than 1 year of assuming office. Unless Oti have shocked the world, unless Oti has, of course, discredited the conspiracy theory that have hampered developments in the eastern part of Nigeria, which unfortunately has informed, of course, the need or the quest for the agitation of the Biafran restoration. Because those who are governors represented the people, misrepresented the people, mismanaged the common resources meant to enhance and better the lot of the people of the Easterners. Unfortunately, unfortunately, for those who decided, of course, to say enough is enough, because with the system that is run, or the template which the Nigerian uh, governments adopts, or value chain, cannot solve the problem of the Easterners. Just as he admitted that his successors, he has not criticized his successors. He mentioned them, the Orji, the Ugwanis, the Bazos. He had not in any way during their tenure criticized them publicly or commended them. Yes, he was right by making such a statement, because how can you criticize somebody you implanted there? Somebody that was your godson. You implanted them there. Of course, as long as they remain loyal to you, give you what is due for you, your own percentage, how will you criticize them even when they are doing nothing? You can't criticize them, because already you understand you are part of the retrogression that is going on within that locality. But that is my personal opinion or assumption regarding the, because, and he said, of course, I've come to criticize or Dr. Alex Oti. Possibly, he said he had a discussion about 2 hours with the executive governor of Abia State, the performing governor of Abia State, one of the best governors ever produced, as apart from the whipping governor of Imo State, Dr. Sam Onanaka Mbakwe, who was a whipping governor. The passion to serve his people, the resilience, the commitment to serve his people made him to whip. He was always at the neck of the federal government, attracting the presence of the federal government to address some nagging issues bordering on his people. Apart from Odna Kambakwe, I have not seen anyone who has beaten his record or even near the record of Dr. Sam Onaka Mbakwe, who of course served meritoriously, dedicated his life for the service of his own people, to the extent he was called a whipping governor. He never earmarked wealth for himself. He never embezzled the public funds, of course, to store them in Europe and America and other, in Sweden, in Swiss banks and all that. But he uses life and his time, his opportunities and privileges to serve the masses of Imo State, even before the creation of Abia State. He did excellently well. But there have not been any governor that emerged that even draw closer to his achievements. So Dr. Oti Alex possibly might want to set a precedent from what we have seen, we have heard, and of course, hoping that all things being equal, he will maintain the tempo of service, and of course, to the Abian people, setting a precedent, setting a record that cannot be broken, that have not been broken in the last 3 decades, where even a serving senator, Uzor Kalu, served. Prior to that time, he claims, of course, he was a billionaire, a multi-billionaire, as he claimed. People would have thought, okay, this governor is already rich. There's no need of a maxing wealth for himself, especially from the common treasury. But the reverse is the case. I'm not accusing him to have a max wealth, but what did you do with the money of Abia people? That is fundamental, which Dr. Ochi alleges today has proven them wrong, that you don't have to wait for the next 4 years before you start delivering the promises or dividends of democracy to your people. Upon inception of office, he rolled the ball. He hit the ground running because times waits for no one. Already before the swearing in, he have get himself ready for the job. He just know where to strike, where to implement whatever he want to implement. He have the master plan of how he wants to impact positively on the masses. So once he assumes office, of course, that is history today. Deplorable roles that have not been filled in the last 3 decades, 22 decades, begin to take a new shape, a new dimension, a new approach, a new breath of air, of course, was felt by the Abia people and the residents of Abia State, discrediting the former governors. Of course, he becomes an envy because of his land-breaking achievements just in less than 1 year in office. If other governors have been taking that same path, of course, the Eastern region would have been the best of the regions in Nigeria. Yes, coupled with the ingenuity, with the selfless efforts of the people in developing their own region. People have been contributing, I mean, the ingenuity, the resilient spirit on the masses of the region or the Igbo people, the have to do spirit, the communal engagements, of course, with a couple with the presence of the performing governor, will advance the cost of the region, but that was not the case. So for the senator to come and tell us that Tinubu is doing well, but the people are hungry, that means indirectly telling us whatever efforts or policy of this administration has no positive impact on the masses. These are misguided rockets that miss the targets. If the people are hungry, it means that the government has failed in its primary responsibility of catering for the welfare of the citizens. The policies of the government must be tailored to address these nagging issues, the basic needs of humans, of the citizens. It must first address food, shelter, and clothing, and of course, security to life and properties of those citizens. If this is not done, then that system of government is, is said, of course, to have failed. For, for Uzor Kalu to come and tell us that Nigerians are hungry, of course, it is in the public domain. People, in fact, hungry is an understatement because millions and tens of millions of Nigerians has been pushed, of course, into poverty with the rising inflation that have destroyed the value of purchasing power of naira today. More people has been swallowed up by poverty. So what is the Senate doing or the legislators doing to address this? Rather than coming to tell the world that you propose 90,000. What is 90,000? 90,000 could just get you a bag of rice and the transportation to your home because you will not carry it on the head. That is what you do. Though you can now appreciate the mindset of those who claim to be representing the people. You cannot be above the people you are representing. So if you are recommending 90,000, the same should apply to you. That is common sense. If you are recommending 90,000 minimum wage for those who sent you on errand, you can't live above them. You can't claim to be honorable. Why those who gave you the opportunity have been dishonored? They have been disgraced. They are dying and wallowing in abject poverty. Why you keep getting fat at the expense of the constituencies? Who gave you the privilege to serve? But unfortunately, you are now lording it over to the entire masses. The simple truth is that with the current templates, just imagine the inflation rate, the dollar, the instability of the financial policies. There have been several attempts by the president to cushion the effect and strike some balance, but repeatedly those efforts has been proven to be ineffective, abortive, and of course a waste of resources and time. Because the more you pump money into forests to stabilize it, the more you eat up the foreign reserves and swallows inflation and whatever swallows them up because there is no productivity. You cannot earn foreign you cannot earn foreign uh, currencies because you are not productive. It's only when you are productive, unfortunately, the multinationals that find themselves in Nigeria, once they make their profit, they are here to make profits. Once they make profits on annual basis, they remit the money to their own country. They repatriate the money. The money is not reinvested in Nigeria. This is why the dollar keep fluctuating. But Nigeria has no any, of course, means of having foreign earnings. And that is why, or having anything to exchange, of course, so that they can earn foreign or to import so that they can earn more foreign currencies to stabilize the dollar. We have the palm fruit fronts, palm fruits, we have the cocos, we have the rubbers, we have even the cola nuts, we have the cashews, plantations, and other palm tree plantations. But how could all these things be financed to earn foreign reserves, to earn foreign currencies that could stabilize the value of the Nigeria against dollar. So these are issues that should have been brought to the table by the national assemblies and discussed the way forward. But unfortunately, everybody is there with their Abada and Babariga to cash out. Leadership or governance is not a rocket science. They do travel wide and near on vacations, on medical vacations. They have seen how things work, how systems are fixed from the airport down to the medical or healthcare system, down to the road network and facilities put in place to enhance the welfare and the well-being of those Western states where they do visit. But why can't they replicate the same thing in their own country? Why can't they insist and deliberately ensure that the president or the executive policies are being well guided with the right information, of course, to improve on the livelihood or the living standard of the Nigerian people? It is quite disturbing and very serious one for that matter for the service senator to have indicted himself. The president, I fear no one, of course, you don't need to fear anyone. That is not the case to discuss. The president has done well. Please let him tell us, share this video, kindly hit the like buttons, and of course, share this video. Let it get to His Excellency Senator Orji Uzor Kalu. In what way, by what assessments, by what indices did they arrive to that statement or assertion that Tinubu has done well in certain areas? I would like him to point out those areas so that the Nigerian masses can have a review or evaluate the veracity of such claims. To another Nigeria, Tinubu has underperformed, except for those who are directly benefiting from this administration. People are finding it very difficult. In fact, that will shock you. There's not even tomato 1000 in Nigeria today. I went to get a pepper just to make some concoction rice. I was laughing when they say a pepper of 500 can't even prepare 2 indomies. I said, what? I was just laughing. I said, well, I don't used to eat too much pepper, but imagine uh, my neighborhood or my brothers, the Yorubas, who cannot do without pepper. How can they cope? How can they cope? Honestly, it's there's fire on the mountain. Of course, the videos are there that went viral where the healthy, productive youths were shouting a bimp by me, on why the president visited his state here in Lagos. They never sang Jagaban, Jagaban, Otisha, Jagaban, Jagaban, Otisha, Abina Otile, or whatever. He go enter. But they were saying, we are hungry, just as the Senator Orji Kalu admitted. publicly that Nigerians are hungry. It is no longer a case to deny. It is an established fact and truth that Nigerians are hungry. If a lawmaker can come up to make such assertions, then it's an indictment to the entire administration of Ahmed Bola Tinubu and the 10th National Assembly, which Senator Orji Kalu happens to be a member of the hallowed chambers of the 10th Assembly, because they have failed to address the basic necessities of the citizens. Foods are no longer affordable. Unfortunately, I don't know what is happening. This keep on escalating. I mean, astronomically. The price of commodity, in fact, only God will help us. There is no price control. Everybody to himself. God for us all. If you're dull, let the devil tax you. Nobody cares. Unfortunately, these people don't even know the cost of commodities in the market, because everything has been paid by the states. Whatever they are using or they are enjoying today was out of our common treasury. The expenses have been paid. They can buy as much as they can. Of course, nobody questions them because the money is there to throw the party. But they don't have a rethink about the masses who are in the state of vulnerability, who, of course, the existence had been endangered or threatened. It doesn't matter to them. You can cruise your SUVs just as the president in the midst of these economic mishaps, scarce resources, is contemplating to buy a new private jet for himself and the vice president. Did you understand the implication of this? Using the taxpayers' money to fuel your extravagant lifestyle. But these guys have enough money to buy whatever money can buy for themselves. But why this waste of public funds? Is that a priority? Is that the topmost priority? It's not even a priority, let alone becoming the topmost priority of the Nigerian people. Nigerians are hungry. I mean, you may not understand. On the streets of Nigeria, of Lagos, people are begging for survival. The excruciating pains and agony people have been subjected on a daily basis. People don't even have the money to buy the least. Of course, unfortunately, the Gari Jabu is no longer something to joke with, because now it's becoming a gold where you buy a pint of Gari, which is about 5 derica cup, of 4,000 naira. You know what that means? There is fire on the mountain. But the issue is, where do we run to? If there is fire on the mountain, where do we run to? That is fundamental. You can now appreciate the fact that people are under siege. If there is fire on the mountain, where do you run to? At the top of the mountain, or at the valley where devouring beasts are waiting to devour anyone within their reach? So you can now appreciate the farmers are out of job, out of the farmlands because of the incessant security and the loss of lives of the farmers. So, who can save us from this destruction? What is that commitment and sincerity and political will on the part of the government? Today, people would have thought that the southern borders should have been opened by now. Do not understand that there are people who are benefiting from that because they tend to enrich just a very few people who have access to the powers that be. If any other person that is not part of the clique wants to import rice, it is gone to be confiscated. Now, if you understand that you don't have the internal mechanism on how to address the urgent and nagging needs of Nigerians populace, you should explore other alternatives to cushion the effect of this harsh economic policies in the short time, in the short run, and of course tend to improve as time goes on. These are how our responsible governments think. They think on how to do, and they think very fast and with a very defined objective or where on what they intend to achieve. You begin to ask, where do we go? Do we even have a vision, let alone to write it, so that he that readeth should run? We are not running anywhere. There is no vision, defined visions where the citizens can buy into. Unfortunately, the instability in the government policies have forced most multinationals to vacate the Nigerian soil, preferring other smaller African countries where there is relative stability and, of course, uh, availability of power or energy, of course, to run their programs and build facilities or industries that could absorb some Nigerian youths or workers. So it is quite laughable and a very disturbing one for Orji or Kalu to claim that Tinubu have done well, but that but is what he has to make very clear. Should not be left, it should not be left vague. There must be, of course, a response to that by the government, or more importantly, to the serving senator Orji Uzor Kalu. Let him tell us what an irony, what kind of magic is that? That the people are hungry and you're saying the government of Tinubu has done well, or Tinubu himself have done well. These are contradictory misinformation about the current realities. Who shall save us from this? Who shall save us from this destruction? Who do we run to? Let alone to talk about the institution of learning. Parents finding it extremely difficult, of course, to pay the salaries, the tuition fees and all that. You begin to ask, how do people cope, including myself? Because it's a source of serious concern and worry because, I mean, only God will help us because we have a trust in Him. That is the only circle where we can draw circle. But that is quite unfortunate that the administration of Ahmed Bola Tinubu could not make readily available the abados and the cassavas. It's no longer even available, let alone if people will complain that they can eat it. Abado cassava, a, a pint of gari now, 4,000. You see now, something that was once sold for 150, 300 naira, and we are shouting 350. We begin to increase, and it has gotten to that threshold or the breaking or yielding points where it will eventually collapse. So, what is the senator doing with his colleagues to arrest this situation and prefer a more robust and comprehensive and, of course, well tailored and articulated program for the masses? But unfortunately, we are not seeing that happening any moment, anytime soon. So you can't continue. For those who claim they are sharing palliatives, of what palliative? How many times will you continue to share palliative? What is the value of whatever you are sharing? Can it sustain just a single person, let alone a family? It's quite unfortunate. Recommending 90,000 is an affront. It is, for me, unacceptable, except the Nigerian labor force could allow such to be thrown on them. Most people spend more than 75% of their current salaries in transportation. So how do you intend to cope with this destructive and very harsh economic system? But I think uh, the Orji of Kalu must have his regrets that the likes of Dr. Alex Oti have assumed office of the governor of Abia State. And the first thing he did was to stop the pensions and allowances of ex-governors. Maybe that could inform the reason why uh, Senator Orji Kalu may have met him to discuss why should you promote food for our mouths. The one where you don't eat things and you are still eating, is it not enough? You have been eating enough food and you have access, of course, to facilities where you can get more for yourself and family. But the teeming populations who has been who they have weaponized poverty against are helpless because you need to eat better balanced diet because before the brain can work. So for us who has been well quite articulate, we analyze issues of this. Of course, these are brain work. You have to think, you have to be proactive, you have to compare and contrast and be able to flow so that people will communicate the or get the information you are communicating across boards. So it's not a crime if, of course, we are gifted. If anyone cares to appreciate us for the good work we are doing for humanity, you can take advantage of the super chats or joining the YouTube partnership to gift us and, of course, to say thank you for what you are doing. Eze Garden Cave. My people say, are they born a igodo? There's nothing wrong, of course, but that is not my major concern. With or without, of course, we have been eating without before. You know what that means? The passion cannot be equated with anything. So we are driven by the passion to serve humanity, and that no one can take from us. It is well sealed and settled. So, but what I'm saying in essence is these governors and senators should learn to tell themselves the truth. They are the problem of Nigeria. They are the problem of the masses. They are the reason why there is misgovernance, misappropriations of funds. Just look at Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso presidents or the military commander, instead of procuring SUVs for himself and for the cronies, he went and bought tractors. He went and bought farming equipments, which of course they have a comparative advantage. They have an expanse of land and adopt that mechanizations, engage the people, have the value chain, of course, which will improve and enhance even the economy of the state. We claim we are Nigeria claims to be the largest, the, the, the giant of Africa, but giant in being fantastically corrupt, creating a lacuna within the system that will allow them to exploit, to embezzle, and of course to get away with that under uh, the, 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 the syndrome of immunity. So what have the government done deliberately to fix those problems? They are not rocket science. For crying loud. If Israel has a rocky environment or space or ground, but Israelis have harnessed their potentials to become a leading force in terms of agriculture that have placed them, of course, well placed within the hierarchy of nations. That they not just they can feed themselves, they can also feed other nations of the world. So what stopped the likes of Orji of Kalu? Of course, uh, even without his presence, I believe that Theodore Orji, I mean, unless OT may possibly engage the masses of Abia states meaningfully. Of course, he has started that by creating the enabling environment, the network build up, and of course, doing other very gigantic projects to ensure that by the end of the 4 years, the Abians or the people residents in Abia State will say of a truth, this man is a destiny saver. This man has come indeed to revive. He's just a savior sent ahead to right the wrongs and, of course, get the people on the path of productivity and at the right track for economic revival and to revive the already moribund industries. Unfortunately, the industries are down, winding up on daily basis. According to reports, over 3,000 or so industries have shut down. Now, which one is left? Which one is left except for the hospitalities or the hotels? Even they are not striving because the rate of insecurity. People are afraid. Those who have the wherewithal will not, of course,